A quiet correction that could rewrite the timeline of the entire Lilly and Jack Sullivan case. Because after months of silence, Janie has reportedly changed her story. And when you look closely at what she said then and what she's saying now, you'll realize this isn't just a small detail. It could be the missing piece investigators have been waiting for. It's now been 6 months since the quiet community of Lansdowne Station woke to news that 6-year-old Lilly Sullivan and her 4-year-old brother Jack had vanished without a sound. Half a year of searches, interviews, and speculation, and yet not a single verified clue has brought them closer to home. There were no witnesses, no confirmed sightings, no trace of the children after that morning. It was as though the world had opened up and swallowed them whole. In the early days, the RCMP threw everything they had at the search. Officers scoured miles of dense forest and rugged farmland. Helicopters hovered over rivers, their blades beating the air like a clock running out of time. 9 units tracked faint scents through overgrown trails, only for them to fade into nothing. Divers waded into ponds, dragging murky depths in hopes of finding a sign, any sign, that would explain how 2 children could vanish in daylight. But as the days blurred into weeks, the operation began to shift. The maps pinned to the walls at RCMP headquarters started to change. The search grids grew smaller, and the questions grew sharper, turning inward toward the family home itself. Soon, the focus wasn't just on where Lilly and Jack went, but what really happened inside that house before they disappeared. Something about that morning, the timing, the silence, the absence of any clear trail, didn't sit right. And at the center of that quiet storm was Janie, the grandmother figure who lived only steps away. To the community, she was a soft-spoken matriarch who adored those children. To investigators, she was something more, the last known person to hear the kids alive. Her memory of that morning, the laughter, the swings, the sudden silence, has become one of the most crucial pieces in this puzzle. Because if Janie's story holds even a single hidden truth, it might finally reveal what happened inside that house before everything went quiet forever. When the children first went missing, Janie's recollection stood out as one of the few things that seemed solid. Her memory, calm and consistent, painted a simple picture, a quiet morning that turned tragic without warning. She told police she had dozed off in her chair around 8:45 a.m., the kind of brief nap she often took after breakfast. The house next door, where Lilly and Jack lived, was still, the hum of morning chores in the distance. Then, not long after, she woke to the sound of laughter floating across the yard. It was unmistakable, the high, sweet giggles of the 2 children she loved like her own. She said she glanced out the window, hearing the faint creak of the swings, picturing them in the yard as they often were. Lilly pushing Jack, both of them lost in a world only siblings share. There were no screams, no scuffling, no voices raised. Just laughter, and then, suddenly, silence. The kind of silence that lingers, heavy and wrong. At first, investigators took Janie's words at face value. It was a small but precious lead, something to anchor the chaos of those first frantic hours. Her timeline placed the children alive, safe, and nearby just after 9 a.m. It gave search teams a direction, a window of time to work within. But as police began piecing together statements, phone records, and digital data, that timeline started to fracture. The parents, Malia and Daniel, said they last saw the children around 8:30 a.m., a half hour earlier than Janie's account suggested. Yet the 911 call, made at 10:01 a.m., hinted that far more time had passed than anyone first realized. Even the digital footprints, phone pings, message logs, and security timestamps pointed to gaps no one could clearly explain. Still, through every interview, every follow-up, Janie's story never changed. She repeated it the same way. The nap, the laughter, the silence. Her voice steady, her eyes unwavering. Until recently. Because now, months later, something in Janie's memory has begun to shift. A small, almost imperceptible change that could alter everything investigators thought they knew about that morning in the final moments before Lilly and Jack disappeared. In a recent interview cited by local reports, Janie's account took a quiet but critical turn. After months of maintaining the same version of events, She reportedly told investigators that she may not have actually heard Lilly and Jack that morning after all. Instead, she now believed the sound she heard, the faint chatter and movement she once described as the children playing, may have been something entirely different. She mentioned hearing the family dog barking, followed by what she called voices drifting faintly through the air. At the time, she assumed it was the children outside on the swing set, laughing and talking as they always did. But now, looking back, she's not so sure. The voices weren't distinct, just soft tones carried by the wind, maybe from the woods, maybe from a house. She admits she can't say for certain who they belong to. And then there's the time change. In her updated statement, Janie adjusted her memory from sometime before 9 to around 9:15. It's a subtle correction, just a 15-minute difference. But in an investigation like this, it's seismic. Because according to police reconstruction, that small window overlaps with a period when investigators already believed the children were no longer alive or present in the home. That means one of two things. Either Janie's memory has blurred, as memories do under stress, or she heard something else entirely. A different sound, a different voice, maybe even movement that didn't belong to Lilly or Jack at all. Her correction, though unintentional, has reopened questions investigators thought they'd buried months ago. If she didn't hear the children that morning, then no one can confirm they were ever seen or even heard after 8:30 a.m., and that raises the most unsettling question of all. If it wasn't the kids she heard that morning, then who or what was it? The RCMP has remained tight-lipped about Janie's revised account, declining to comment publicly on the new discrepancies. But according to internal sources close to the investigation, she's now being described as a key witness whose recollection evolved over time. That phrase might sound neutral, but in police language, it carries weight. It means every word she's ever said is being revisited, compared line by line, timestamp by timestamp, against hard evidence. Phone records, surveillance footage, digital logs, and forensics pulled from the Sullivan property. Investigators aren't dismissing her. They're dissecting her story, testing it against the data that doesn't shift with memory. Because when a witness's account changes, even slightly, it can unravel months of assumptions. It means the entire sequence of events. Every minute of that morning has to be rebuilt from scratch. So, they're going back to the basics. Who was awake when? Who left the house first? At what moment was each sound, each movement, last verified? If Janie's new timeline is accurate, if the noises she heard came closer to 9:15 a.m., then that could mean the window for the children's disappearance happened much earlier than previously believed. It compresses the timeline, tightening it until there's almost no space left between routine and tragedy. Investigators are now zeroing in on the last verifiable sound of Lilly and Jack alive. Not speculation, not memory. The last provable trace, a voice, a movement, a digital ping, that confirms they were still there. Because in a case with no body, no witness, and no confession, time itself becomes evidence. And with every inconsistency, every minute that doesn't align, one truth becomes painfully clear. In the mystery of Lilly and Jack Sullivan, every second now matters. If Janie's correction holds true, if a revised timeline really does reflect what happened that morning, it could mean investigators have been looking in the wrong direction for months. Every search grid, every mapped radius, every theory built around those early hours might suddenly collapse under the weight of new timing. For half a year, search crews had focused on the window between 8:45 and 10 a.m., the period everyone believed the children had vanished. But if Janie actually heard the noises close to 9:15, when evidence suggests the children were already gone, then the search parameters, the trails, the ponds, the woods, were all drawn too late. It might explain why dogs lost the scent so quickly, why no trace turned up in the areas scoured most thoroughly. They weren't searching at the right point in time. They were searching after the fact. But if her shift in story isn't just a simple memory lapse, if it's not the product of confusion or stress, then the implications are far darker. A change statement can mean someone is second-guessing themselves, or someone is protecting something. Investigators have seen it before, how a detail subtly evolves, how a phrase softens, how an innocent clarification hides something deeper. And in a case already built on fragments and contradictions, Even a small change can send everything spiraling in a new direction. Because sometimes it's not the story itself that matters most. It's the reason it changed. Did Janie misremember, caught between noise and silence in a morning that's since blurred with grief? Or did she hear something she was never meant to, something she's still afraid to say aloud? Either way, her words now carry new weight. And for the RCMP, that single revision could reshape the very heart of the investigation and reopen the question that's haunted this case from the start. What really happened in the moments before Lilly and Jack disappeared?